my son in the film gets into a fight with uh, Christoph and Kate's son in the film, and they have an argument in the playground, and their son hits my son in the mouth with a stick and breaks his teeth. And so the parents decide, let's be civilized. Let's get together and discuss what happened. And if it's okay between us, then it will become okay between the children. And also, we have this business of explaining to the insurance company how it happened. And, so in a very civilized gesture, my wife and I invite this couple to our house to discuss, how we go forward from here. And the first, say, third of the story is very polite, and everyone trying to present the best version of themselves, or this ideal version of themselves, in the way that parents are often competitive in that subtle way with each other, like, oh yes, well, the way we raise our child is, oh well, yes, of course, us also. And there are these undercurrents of status competition underneath it, and there's undercurrents of judgment without seeming to judge. And then, one thing leads to another in the story, and needless to say, the gloves come off. And I think that if there is a moral to the story, it's that, that adults can be more childish than children. Yeah. Well, as an actor, it was a very exciting opportunity, because it's very rare that you shoot a film consecutively to begin with. And that's a wonderful way to find a story and a character organically on film. I think I've maybe done it twice out of 50 films that I've done. So whenever you get the chance to do that, it's a great opportunity. And did I see it as a cinematic? Not exactly, because it's in such as one location. It's somewhat rare for a film to be so confined, but I knew if anyone could do it, Roman Polanski could. It's wonderful in an age when, catharsis in films usually means a massive explosion, or, some type of monster rising out of the sea or something, that the monster is the people in this film. And the catharsis that comes is when they finally are honest with each other. It takes almost the entire story for them to be really honest. It takes a couple glasses of scotch too. But I think that's the wonderful thing about it, is that no one is really off the hook. If you're really honest with yourself and you watch this film, you're like, yeah, I've said that, or I felt that. Maybe I didn't say it, but I felt that about that other couple's kid. They don't raise him right. If only they treated him. If only they taught their son the way we teach our son. It's very easy to see the faults in other people, and when we definitely have these impulses to be selfish, or to whatever, to be completely self-centered. However, I personally don't believe that is the total driving force. I know in my own life that's not. I don't have only selfish means. Actually, if you have children, that's what you learn. You learn that, well, it is possible for human beings to do something for someone other than themselves. And children teach you that. I have children myself, and I learn that every day. Yeah, so it definitely it gives you a sense of place. The challenge that a film set in one location presents is, these characters in the story are in this place for 90 minutes together, and we've been in this place for 6 weeks together. So, the challenge is to keep each moment fresh, as if it's happening within 90 minutes, and not to get bored or too, well, it's easier for me because it's my apartment, so I'm meant to be very comfortable in there. But I think for Christoph and Kate, keeping the sense that this is not exactly familiar territory is a challenge. I noticed when I walked into Dean Tavaleris' set was, my God, so much of my work has been done for me. Because usually on films, the camera sees what the audience is meant to see, and then you look over here and it's just a soundstage or a flat, or when you go to pick up a book, you open the book and there's nothing inside the book, or there's a lot of artifice, but Dean's set is just filled with detail. I mean, I think if you covered the windows and you sent someone in, you blindfolded them and took them to this place, and you let them inside the set, they would think they were in an apartment. Because it really is, down to like strange little knickknacks on the shelves, and the whole place. The kitchen is like nearly functional. Unfortunately, the bathroom is not functional. When you first read it, you think, wow, that's an awfully philosophical thing to say in the midst of a discussion. So the rehearsal allowed me to just, through repetition and through, reconsideration each day of how I said something or the way I approached it, it gave me a chance to let these ideas settle inside of myself and find a way for my character to say these things, because of the four characters, I would say my character is the most down to earth, or at least the least intellectual, perhaps. So, yeah, the rehearsal process allowed me to find that, and it also allowed us, within this confined space, just to find the rhythms and just the way we interacted. Instead of, I think it would be very difficult. Number one, to shoot the film out of order would be almost impossible, I think, because there's so much going on from moment to moment. It'd be hard to go back and then forward. And we were running this whole thing. We would do run-throughs of the entire script, like a play, over and over and over and over. So if he had notes in that way, he would give them during rehearsal now. And now we're just executing what we have rehearsed. So if we start to, if the energy starts to ebb or something, he'll say, "Oh, no, remember when we were rehearsing how upset you got when you said this?" And remind you, But for the most part, that rehearsal has really paid off. The story says a lot about not only parenting and the way we relate to our children, and how we, I think, at times over-supervise our children. It also says things about gender, like, the women, eventually the men kind of square off together, like, she's driving me crazy, yeah, and she's driving me crazy, so maybe you and I can find comfort in a glass of scotch with each other. And the women do the same thing, like, he does that, well, mine does this, which is also a very common thing among couples. I think what's great about the story is that it approaches these intellectual ideas, and the characters are actually discussing these ideas, but that's not what's going on. It's funny, like oftentimes in life, there's what we're talking about, and then there's the way we're behaving. And there's a story of how we're behaving towards each other underneath the story of what we're actually saying to each other. And this is a classic example of that, I think, the script. We're talking about these high ideas and, aspirations and, our belief systems and our place in the world. And meanwhile, we're sort of acting like these children with, the dynamics of our relationship become slowly unveiled. And I think that's the key to the success of Yasmina's play. Yeah, there's all these sort of little revealing moments about our belief systems that we are quick to judge the other people on, but it's much harder to admit our own frailties. But that's what satire does, It's a perfect setup for comedy, I think, because whenever you put people in a situation that is difficult for them to deal with and make them behave in a way that keeps things polite, that's an age-old recipe for comedy. So Roman, the way he directs films is from a very much from his point of view. It's very much about the cinema of it, the framing and the shots, and there was a lot of interaction with us about the acting during rehearsal, but during shooting, it's minimal. If there's a problem or if there's something he would like you to change, he'll say something. Otherwise, Roman has a really good innate sense of what it's like to have to act something. So he was as much interested in the rehearsal process, in the organic reality of the reactions and the behavior as we were. I mean, this had to be one of the fastest decisions I've ever made about taking a piece of work. I'm just, there's very few people in the world that are at the level of Roman, and I feel incredibly lucky to be here. Yeah.